To my dearest cousin. I like to write these little messages to you from time to time, although I hope none of them ever reach you. You know how it is, peril always seems to follow me. It's not like I go out there seeking it, well, not always, but there it is. Always. I'm never alone, but there's always a chance, isn't there? Emily's got my back. She would never leave my side if... I remember your fascination when Emily and I came around, although you were fascinated by everything back then, weren't you? I'd always thought the time would come when I'd come back for you. Maybe I'd even be the one to offer you your first Pokemon. No. If this letter has reached you, that cannot happen. I'll leave this letter, as I have with all that have come before it, in the capable hands of my old associate, Detective Looker, so I have the confidence that it will reach you. I delivered in person, but I suppose that's kind of the point I'm trying to make. I'm dead. Probably. Well, maybe I'm missing, but don't hold out hope. Looker will fill you in on any details, if there are any, I'm sure. I do wonder myself, but I suppose I can never know what's around the corner. My only real hope is that my Pokemon reach their way to you. I've written this in the knowledge that your Pokemon journey is approaching, and by Arceus I had hoped to be there. Alas, you must keep a tight grip on that fascination of our world that I know you so dearly for. Even if a Pokemon is the cause of my demise, I know you'd struggle to hate them for even a second. Not with that twinkle in your eyes. Do I remember right that your favourite Pokemon was Tepig? I could have got that wrong, your whimsy wasn't always the most consistent thing. Well, recently I got in contact with a Mr. Edward Walker, who shares my vision for our world. Perhaps I've already discussed this with you, I simply don't know. I bring this up to you, my dear cousin, because I actually received a Tepig from him as part of our shared research. I was going to give the little guy to you on your 11th birthday, but, well, the situation seems to have changed, unfortunately. I'll put you in contact with Edward. He's a champion of Owen, you know. I've become aware of the growingly strict Galarian importation rules, and don't worry, I've put this into consideration. I've set up an offshore PC account for you so that all of the, well, prohibited Pokemon aren't detained by the authorities. Although I may have caught them, consider them to be as much your partners as they were mine. The unrelenting Hawthorne, the gentle Tweak, and, of course, Triangulum, the crown jewel of my team. Keep Tri safe for me, will you, Pumpkin? There are so many after him, and I must wonder what kind of danger it puts me in. It's best you don't advertise having Tri in your possession too much. Certainly not until you're strong enough. I know you. You'll manage, on your own, in a time. Feel sad now if you must, but don't let it weaken you. I may not have finished my work, but you know me too well. My work would have continued forever. And things have stood in my way before, but it only takes one obstacle to end things for good. I know Professor Magnolia will take care of you. I just wish I could have been there, you know? She can teach you things I've no expertise in at all. Granted, but I still think I had a lot to offer you. Although I'd spent all 18 years of my life in Kalos, it'd always been my intention to have a 1-year placement with Professor Magnolia, in part so I could be part of your journey, yet also to widen my horizons. I'd at one time entertained the idea of spending some time in Alola, even reaching out to some contacts about a potential move. There was Richard Rodriguez, for one, a trial goer intent on becoming the champion, and Logan Garcia, a former, and indeed the first, champion of Alola. Both were quite informative in their communications with me, and I contact them regularly in my current, and presumably now incomplete, research on Z-crystals and their power. Young Richard inspired me to write this letter, in fact, for the way he looked at his Pokemon reminded me of the way you looked at my dear Emily, all those years ago. I met up with both of them, in fact, only days ago when they gifted me a few Pokemon they'd tucked away in their PCs. I can empathize with the guilt. So, my dear cousin, remember this. Catch and train all those Pokemon. I'm sorry I can't be around, truly. I don't want to die just as much as the next guy, but it seems fate has other plans for me. Don't feel obliged to continue my work, just go out there and discover yourself. That's what being a Pokemon trainer is all about. Yet, I know we see the world in a similar way. At one point, I thought my vision for the world was shared by an old mentor of mine, Lysander, but I was mistaken. I see the future of our world in the hands of both humans and Pokemon, and I think you see that too. I know we see so little of each other, cousin, but I hope you've seen me as a mentor as I have you a mentee. It's time for your journey. My last piece of advice for you is to be cautious. I may not know what it is that has caused my end, but it may well be from carelessness. Don't fall as I have. Stand strong and show the world what you have got. My legacy: 16-time champion of Kalos, Team Flare Vanquisher, Protector of Yveltal, and Pokedex Fanatic. I do too much attention to myself. Perhaps that's not the problem, perhaps it is. I don't know. Maybe you do. Alas, stay safe. Don't let my rise and fall determine yours. You go out there, and you have your own adventure. If I'm alive, and this has been sent to you in a misunderstanding or miscommunication, I'll write to you again. So my cousin, until next time, I love you dearly, but you know that. I wish I could have seen you again before I passed. Attached to this letter is my contact book. As an aspiring professor, you'd correctly guess that there are quite a few in there. Keep an eye out on Mr. Rodriguez for me if you could do me one more thing. That kid, like yourself, has real promise. Oh, and just contact Looker if you experience any problems with the Pokemon transfer. He'll get it sorted. He's reliable like that. I think you'd like him. Perhaps the two of you will hit it off, but he's an aloof kind of guy, so you won't be seeing much of him. I've also attached an inventory of all the Pokemon that have been deposited in your offshore PC, so do look out for that, and, again, contact Looker if it's missing. Well, that's all from me. If you like them, they're very similar to this one. Looker has copies of all my previous letters. I think the first one I wrote was 5 years ago, just after that time we shared Christmas together. To say there's been a few letters since then is an understatement. So, have haste. I wish things had turned out differently, and I know you share that feeling. Yet, you must move forward as I have. I'll watch over you, just from a different horizon. Good luck, cousin. Love from your favorite cousin, A.A. Nelson. Written on the 8th of October, 2023. P.S. Tweak loves citrus berries. Don't feel wrong indulging her desires for them. I certainly didn't.